Okay, we are live on YouTube, but not on Zoom yet. I'm going to start, okay? Hey everyone, welcome. We'll be starting the webinar in just a minute. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes to have everyone join. Awesome. I think that's probably enough. Great. So, hi everyone. Welcome to UX Portfolio Building Masterclass, Part 1, How to Set Your Portfolio Up for Success. I'm Akash Huntush, Marketing Manager here at UXfolio, and I'll be your host for today's session. We're thrilled to be co-hosting this event with our friends at ADP List, a leading free mentorship platform with mentors in UX, product, AI, software development, and more. Joining me today is Reka Nudge, product designer at UXfolio and our in-house portfolio expert. Over the past 2 years, Reka has reviewed hundreds of portfolios. She's spoken directly with recruiters and hiring managers to figure out what truly makes a portfolio stand out. Not just visually, but in structure, storytelling, and strategy as well. Today, she's here to share the most practical insights from all that experience so you can build a portfolio that really shows your strengths as a UX professional. Now, just a quick look at what's coming up today. Presentation and portfolio building demo first, a short Q&A session afterwards, then live portfolio reviews, and a final round of questions before we wrap up, if we do have time for it. Also, just so you know, the session is being recorded and we'll share the replay on YouTube in case you want to revisit anything afterwards. Now, for those of you who are new to us, UXfolio is a no-code website builder designed specifically for UX portfolios. Unlike generic website builders, it's tailored to UX professionals, so you're never starting from scratch. We offer helpful features like a case study generator, thumbnail designer, built-in device mockups, and so on, so you can focus on your content and not on the website. You'll be seeing Reka use the tool during the portfolio building demo, so keep an eye out for it. All right, I think we can get started. Reka, floor is yours.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And great, I think it's working. So hi everyone, thanks Akash for the intro and thanks all of you for joining. I'm Reka, product designer at UXfolio, and I'm really excited to be here today and share the valuable insights I've gained through my work at UXfolio to help you take your portfolio to the next level. And in this session, we're going to dive deep into the fundamentals of building an effective UX portfolio. And in the first part of the series, we'll focus on the homepage and the About page, the two pages that define the first impression when someone lands on your portfolio. And then in part 2, we'll take it further and dive deep into building impactful, story-driven case studies. So keep an eye out for that. And here's the exciting part. We'll build a portfolio live, and we'll go from a blank page to a ready-to-publish portfolio, all in under 30 minutes. But before we jump into building, we'll go through 3 key steps. First, I'll help you define a clear strategy for your portfolio. Then, we'll cover the essential elements that recruiters and hiring managers are looking for when reviewing a portfolio. Finally, I'll share some quick, effective design tips to make it shine. And let's start with the strategy, one of the most overlooked steps in portfolio building. A generic one-size-fits-all portfolio almost never works. If you want to stand out, your portfolio should highlight your strengths and align with the kind of roles you're aiming for. So let's break down how you can do just that. I'll start with some self-reflection. Here are some guiding questions to help you position yourself clearly and confidently in your portfolio. First, ask yourself, what are my key skills? And consider both hard and soft skills. Think visual design, prototyping, usability testing, but also collaboration and presentation skills. Then, What's my UX superpower? This is what sets you apart from other candidates. For example, you might be really good at maintaining a design system, or maybe you have a knack for creating delightful micro interactions. Then, what do I bring from my past career? If you're switching careers, think about the transferable skills you bring from your past role. For example, if you worked as a data analyst, this might be your ability to turn data into insights. And what do I enjoy most in UX? Reflect on your previous projects. What specific tasks did you love doing? This helps you not only position yourself authentically, but also attract roles that align with your interests. And now that you have a clearer idea of who you are as a designer, let's focus on where you want to go. So look up 3 job descriptions you'd love to apply for and analyze them. Highlight the recurring skills, tools, and themes, then use them to guide your portfolio's content. In many cases, you already have the right experience for a job, you just have to frame your portfolio's content in a way to make it clear. And to illustrate what I mean by this, look at this job description by Duolingo. The requirements include experience designing mobile apps, strong visual design skills, and ability to prototype quickly. To align your portfolio to this job, highlight these skills in your headline and about page, include case studies that showcase mobile designs and prototyping, and place these case studies at the top of your work section so they're seen first. This way, when a hiring manager from Duolingo lands on your portfolio, they immediately see the connection between your experience and what they're looking for. And after doing these 2 exercises, you'll know exactly who you are as a designer and what your target roles are looking for. And at the intersection of these lies the message your portfolio should communicate, starting with your headline, continuing in your about page, and reflected in your case study selection. And now that we've covered the strategy, let's see what are the must-have elements every UX portfolio needs. But first, I want to take a minute to talk about the format. There are several portfolio formats like PDFs, slide decks, Behance, but in this session we're focusing on portfolio websites. And for a good reason. They come with huge advantages both for you and the people reviewing your portfolio. And let's start with you. So first, building a website has never been easier. With no-code website builders, you don't need to learn how to code. Just choose a template, add your content, and hit publish. And you can update it anytime. No re-exporting or resending files. Just make the change and it will show instantly. And websites also let you add interactive elements like animations, videos, or prototypes for a more interactive and engaging experience. And with options like password protection, you stay in control of who sees it. And now, let's look at it from the recruiter's perspective. They often review hundreds of applications for a single role, and the website saves them time. No downloads needed, just 1 click to open your portfolio. Plus, websites are responsive, so whether they're checking on a laptop or mobile, it will look great. And navigation is another big win. Recruiters can quickly jump to relevant case studies at the About page or your contact information without having to scroll through a whole website or slide deck. And above all, a well-designed website shows that you know how to create great user experiences, starting with your own portfolio. And now that we've covered the why behind the website format, let's break down the essential elements every strong portfolio website should include. And one of the first things a recruiter will check is your navigation to understand what your portfolio consists of. Make sure it's clear and intuitive so they can find what they're looking for without any friction. A small but powerful touch is adding your name or logo to the navigation. This will help them remember whose portfolio they're looking at, and it also serves as an anchor point that takes them back to your homepage with just 1 click. And make sure to indicate which page the viewer is currently on while browsing your portfolio. And it's also a good idea to include your PDF resume in the navigation so recruiters can quickly access your professional details. And next up is your headline, your portfolio's elevator pitch. It should quickly tell recruiters why you are the right fit. Avoid generic headlines like "I'm a passionate UX designer," Instead, be specific and include relevant information like your exact role, your career level, area of expertise or specialization, or relevant industry experience. A strong headline clearly communicates your value proposition, and try to keep it short and scannable. One powerful sentence is usually enough. You can share more details in your About page. And here are some headline templates that you can use to craft an effective headline, each focusing on different aspects like impact, industry experience, background, or area of expertise. And feel free to take a screenshot of this slide and use it later. Now, let's move on to the work section. This consists of your case study cards. And think of these as the book covers of your case studies. Their job is to grab attention and make people want to dive into the full story. Start with a strong title and subtitle. One of the most common mistakes I see is using the product's or company's name as the title of the case study. This is not going to get someone's attention unless it's a super well-known company. Instead, highlight your contribution and the impact of your work. And use thumbnail images that showcase one or two key screens from the project in a visually appealing way. Avoid cluttered or overly complex visuals. And consistency is key. Use consistent background and mockup styles in all your thumbnails. They should work together as a cohesive set to give your homepage a polished look. And always prioritize quality over quantity when it comes to case studies. A single weak case study can bring down the impression of your whole portfolio. And regarding the number, for entry-level designers, 2-3 case studies are usually enough, while more experienced designers are expected to have between 3 to 6. Then, make sure it's easy for recruiters to contact you. Include your contact information in the navigation or footer so they're visible on every page. And this should include a professional email address that visitors can copy or a mail to link, and links to your professional social media profiles like LinkedIn, Behance, or Dribbble, where they can find additional information or examples of design work. And another essential element of any portfolio is the About page. This is your chance to create a personal connection with recruiters. Start with a summary of your professional journey, highlighting relevant experiences, skills, and your approach to design. Then, add the short summary of your interests or hobbies to give a glimpse of who you are outside of work. And you can also include a profile image. But if you do, make sure it's high quality and reflects your personality in a professional way, as this image becomes part of the story that you're telling with your portfolio. And this section is also a great place to showcase any notable awards or achievements and testimonials from clients or colleagues. These add instant credibility, and they're also a great way to show what it's like to work with you. And to recap, on the homepage, recruiters expect to find a clear navigation, a headline that tells them why they should hire you, a selection of case studies showcasing your best work, and your contact information, email, and professional social media profiles. And an effective About page includes an intro that covers your career journey, but also mentions your personal interests and hobbies, a profile image for a stronger personal connection, and testimonials to build trust. And with the must-haves in place, let's take your portfolio to the next level with visual design. Here are 3 design tips to help you craft a polished professional experience. First, keep it consistent. Treat your portfolio like a product and define a visual identity for it. Set a color palette, 5 colors are usually enough, and a font pair, one for your headings and one for the body text. And use them consistently on every page of the portfolio to create a cohesive professional look. Then, optimize for scanning. Keep in mind that most recruiters won't read every word. They scan. So make it easy for them. Use clear visual hierarchy, consistent headings, and short, digestible paragraphs with keywords highlighted to guide their eyes through your content. And last but not least, less is more. Many designers want to make their portfolio so unique and show everything they can do that their portfolio ends up looking, well, like a mess. So if something doesn't serve a purpose, it's better left out. A clean, focused design helps your work shine. And now it's time to put all these tips into action. We're going to build a portfolio live in UXfolio, applying everything we just covered from strategy to visual design. So let's jump in. Here's what you'll see when you open UXfolio. And you can see that the essential building blocks are already in place. The navigation, the hero section, the case study cards, and the footer. So we can focus on the content right away. And let's start with the headline. In this demo, we're building a portfolio for a fictional designer called Laura Brooks, who has a background in digital marketing. So let's add the headline that highlights her unique value. Something like that. And you can, of course, add secondary text if you'd like, but the focus should always stay on the value proposition. I will add a secondary text here with her name. And to make the headline more impactful, I'll highlight some keywords. I'll use a color from the portfolio's color palette, and we'll play with that in a bit. But as you can see, it's very easy to apply these colors to any element across your portfolio to keep the design consistent. Now, Laura's headline is ready to make a strong first impression. And to visually separate the hero section from the case study cards, let's add the divider line. I'll just click on Add Section, choose Divider Line, edit the text, choose a different text style, and that's it. Our professional divider line is ready. And let's move on to the heart of every portfolio, the work section. And remember that case study cards serve as hooks. Their role is to motivate readers to click and open the case studies. And let's see how we can achieve that. First, we'll design the thumbnail images. And for that, just click Set Thumbnail and go through 3 simple steps, starting with the layout. You can choose from single or multi-device layouts with mobile, laptop, tablet, or monitor mockups. But keep in mind that you don't have to show everything here. So only show 1 or 2 key screens from the project. And I will go with the first layout option for Laura's portfolio. And then I will edit the device style. You can choose from different styles like browser, outline, but I really like this realistic one. It has a really modern vibe, so I will go with that. I'll just add a dynamic island to make it more realistic. And then I will upload the screenshot into it. I will select it right now and crop it real quick. And done. And we can also edit the background. You can choose from different background styles and pick a color from your portfolio's color palette. I will go with this subtle color. Hit save. And done. Now let's do the same steps for the second thumbnail. So set thumbnail, upload the image, crop it, and save. And just like that, we have consistent thumbnails that perfectly align with our portfolio's design. And you should also be intentional with the layout of the case study cards. If you have more than 3 projects, then the grid layout works really well because it fits more projects into the viewport at once. But if you have fewer projects, then the large list layout is a better choice because it fills the space and it helps to create just a better look on your homepage. And you can also play with the text alignment. and the text position, and notice how the thumbnail images automatically adapt to every layout. And then there's the highlighted grid. I'll just switch back the text position. So if you want to spotlight one specific case study, then go with the highlighted grid layout. It makes the first thumbnail full width and the others smaller, so you naturally guide visitors towards the first one. And for Laura's portfolio, I'll select the smallest layout. And now let's quickly edit the title and the subtitle of the case studies. So remember, the title should be more than just the name of the product, because here you're pitching your work, your contribution, not the product itself. So try to focus on what you did in the project and what the impact was. And it's also a good idea to use the same structure across the titles to make it easy to skim. And in the subtitle, you can add some project details like the year, your role, or the type of the project in a scannable way. Let's do the same for the second case study. And with that, we've covered all the essential elements on the home page. And now let's tweak the design. So we'll start with the colors, and for that, I'll open the design panel and go to colors. Now remember that consistency is key. So try to define a color palette for your whole portfolio and stick to it. We'll start from the presets, and we will try some curated color palettes that UXfolio offers. And you can see that if I select one, the whole portfolio updates instantly. So you can experiment with these very easily. Let's try some dark ones as well. And I really like this neon palette, so I'll select this, but I will tweak the neon color to make it a bit more vibrant. And maybe this color a bit lighter, just like that. And if you already have a personal brand color, you can generate a new palette based on that. Just go to Generate and enter the hex code or use the color picker, and UXfolio will generate new palettes for you. And you can try them in dark mode as well. And if you change the base color, your portfolio will adapt. But for this portfolio, let's go with the neon palette that we originally selected. And now let's tweak the fonts. So back in the design panel, we'll go to fonts this time. And just like with the colors, it's important to stay consistent with the fonts as well. And you can try out some font pairs to see which reflects your personality and which looks good with the content of your portfolio. I really like this Albert Sans combination because it has a modern and clean vibe, so I'll go with that. I'll just tweak the heading font to make it a bit bolder. Let's try this Clash display. Just like that, all the headings got updated. And if you want more control, you can edit individual text styles from the advanced settings. Like that. And we'll hit save. And done. And we'll add a touch of motion to our portfolio. We'll go to animations, and I select a really subtle loading animation that doesn't distract visitors from the content of the portfolio. Save. And with that, the animations are added to our portfolio. Now the homepage looks great. So let's move on to the About page. You can see that it's already in the navigation, and you can add more pages to your portfolio anytime from the Pages panel. And you can also upload a PDF resume, and it will automatically show up in your navigation. But now let's focus on the content of Laura's About page. So to strike the right balance between professional and personal, it's a good idea to add two sections one for the career journey and one for the personal interests and hobbies. And I already added these here. I just make them more scannable and I will break them up into shorter paragraphs to improve scannability. Just like that. Let's do the same for this second paragraph. And I will also highlight some keywords. I will use the portfolio's color palette. And avoid using long walls of text in your portfolio. Instead, add a button that takes visitors to your LinkedIn profile or any other relevant platforms, and this way they can learn more about you without overwhelming your About page. And to make this page more personal, you can add a profile image. So let's do just that. And make sure that this image is authentic and reflects your personality, as it becomes part of the story that you're telling with your portfolio. And if you'd like, you can add an image to the outside of work section as well. Let's upload one. And let's change it to size small. And to make the layout of this page more interesting, let's switch this. Perfect. And if you want to add more sections to your About page to make it even stronger, then you can add expert sections like articles, awards, or if you're mentoring on ADP list, you can add an ADP list section which will show your mentoring stats. And another great addition to your homepage is a testimonial section where you can add quotes from clients, managers, or colleagues. And this helps build trust, adds credibility, and shines a light on what it's like to work with you. And with that, our About page is ready. Now, let's go back to the homepage for some finishing touches. So go to settings and at the share settings, you can upload a preview image and edit the preview title or description of your portfolio. These will show up when you share your portfolio's link. Then you can add a custom domain, and you can also upload a favicon that matches your portfolio's design. And these small details help make your portfolio truly recognizable. And now let's check what we've built in preview mode. This will show our portfolio how others will see it without the editing tools. And if you're happy with it, then you're just a publish button away from sharing it with the world. And we'll actually drop a link to this freshly built portfolio in the chat so you can check it out yourself. And if you're feeling inspired to start building your own portfolio, then I've got good news for you. Just let me switch back to the slides real quick. So with the codes you see here, you can try UXfolio at a discounted price. And just sign up at uxfol.io, and when you're ready to upgrade, enter the code at the checkout. As simple as that. And that wraps up my presentation for today. We went from a blank page to a fully customized portfolio in under 30 minutes. I hope this gave you a boost of motivation, inspiration, and practical tips you can use right away in your own portfolio. Now we'll have a quick Q&A session. So if you have any questions about portfolio strategy, structure, or design, drop them in the Q&A tab, and I'll hand it back to Akash to kick that off.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Reka. So, yes, I have pasted the links that you mentioned in the chat, also the coupon codes, so you can just copy and paste them from over the chat. All right, so let's take a look at some of the questions that we got in the meantime. One of the most popular questions was, will there be a video recording of this webinar later on? Yes. I will be pasting our YouTube channel in the chat right now. You will be able to find a recording of this webinar later on there. Another question that I saw a couple of times that's connected, will there be the Figma deck that you showed? Will we be sharing that? So what we can do is actually link the Figma deck into the description of the YouTube video when it's out, and you will be able to find it there. Awesome. So, next question. Actually, this was asked multiple times as well in different forms. So, Reika, question is, are you suggesting that people tailor their portfolios for every role?
Yes, ideally, you should tailor your portfolio for each role you're applying for, especially if they are very different. If they are similar, then of course you can use the same version of your portfolio. But if you want to be very specific and really stand out and really highlight that you're a good fit for that specific position, then yes, it's recommended to create a dedicated version for that role.
Awesome. Thanks. Next question. How do I create a case study and demo for my work that has an NDA? If I jumped over there, but yes, basically NDA projects. What's your take on them?
Mhm. First of all, it's very important to respect the terms of your NDA. So read it carefully and make sure to that you respect that. And then what you can do is to present some parts of your work. For example, you can present your role and your responsibilities in the project. You can also present your process without sharing confidential information. And you can also abstract the project. So remove any branding or data that are confidential and share it like that in your portfolio. Or another thing that you can do is to use password protection for sensitive work. That way, you will make sure that it will not appear publicly.
All right. I think I saw a couple of people following the same question. How different are UX research portfolios? If you can say a few words about that.
Yes, absolutely. So UX researcher portfolios are similar in a lot of ways to UX designer portfolios. What differs is the visuals. So you should also use storytelling and present your thought process. So those principles all apply to UX researcher portfolios as well. But what's different is the visuals. So you, of course, will not have those shiny UIs necessarily, but you have something else. You can create interesting visuals from your research findings and show them. Just make sure not to include every artifact. So don't include detailed charts and Miro boards and everything from the project, but make sure to highlight the artifacts and the insights that actually shaped your work and show them. Otherwise, I think the two kinds of portfolios are pretty similar because they both present UX work, and UX for work should be focused on solving problems, not just the shiny UIs.
All right. Another question that I saw was about portfolio websites, whether they're too generic or not. What's your experience with recruiters? Because we mentioned that you talked to a lot of recruiters. What do you think? Do they like websites like UXfolio? Do they not?
Yeah, definitely. Websites save a lot of time for recruiters because think about it. If you send them a PDF, then they have to download that, then they have to find that in their files. Maybe they have to rename it so that they know which specific position that application refers to. So it's very complicated. A website makes their life so much easier. So definitely, from a recruiter's point of view, a website is a clear winner. And you mentioned in the beginning of the question about being generic. Well, it depends on you. I mean, a PDF or a slide deck can be generic as well. And actually, a website is much easier to customize because you have much more flexibility when designing a website. So I think you can make a website much more tailored to your personal style and your personal brand than any other type of portfolio.
Okay. Um, we had a question that was basically someone has a very generic headline because they're switching careers, and they asked whether it's a good idea to mention that they are switching careers or that they had something else beforehand.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're transitioning to UX from a different field, then you can turn that into an asset. So don't hide your non-UX background, but use it as an asset. Identify the transferable skills and mindsets that can become your UX superpowers, actually. So, for example, if you're coming from a marketing background, just like our fictional designer in the live building part, then you can emphasize that you're really good with data and aligning to business needs and being strategic and things like that. Or if you're coming from a background in teaching, then you can emphasize your empathy and your ability to explain complex concepts and being a good communicator and collaborator and stuff like that. So definitely find the transferable skills and highlight those. And in the beginning of the question, you actually mentioned that your headline is too generic because you're switching careers. Well, then make your headline specific by highlighting your unique angle that you bring from your past career.
All right. I think we have time for maybe one or two more. How far can people go to creatively regarding their portfolio websites? As in, how wild can they get when it comes to creativity?
Okay, so first of all, this is one of the most common mistakes I see in portfolio websites is that designers try to be too unique and they often over design their portfolios because they want to show everything you can do, every type of micro interaction, every little trick that they can do. But your portfolio is about your story and it should focus on your content and all these visuals that don't actually add to your story, that are not there to support your story, are just distractive. So remove any unnecessary element or distraction that doesn't add to your story. Because remember who the target audience of your portfolio is. It's not other designers because with these extra things you are probably trying to impress other designers, but your portfolio will be reviewed by recruiters, by hiring managers. And those people just want to get to the essential information as quickly as possible. And if those extra animations and extra visuals make it harder for them to get to those essential information, then you're doing more harm.
Okay. Um, People are asking how many case studies should they show in their portfolio?
That's a really good question because the answer is it depends. So there's no right or wrong number here. It depends on the complexity of your project and your career level. So I cannot give you an exact answer to this. But as I said in the presentation, your portfolio is just as strong as your weakest case study in it. So only include work that you're proud of. So be very intentional with what type of projects and case studies you include in your portfolio. Also, make sure to include only relevant case studies for the roles you're applying for.
All right. And then maybe one last more. Would you structure your case studies page differently if it's expected to be used in interviews, usually hiring manager step, as an informal walkthrough?
Yeah, definitely. So for interviews, it's actually recommended to design a dedicated presentation because in interviews you can go deeper into certain parts of your story. So it's definitely recommended to use a dedicated presentation and not your portfolio website and the case study page inside that.
All right. Thank you so much for answering those questions. Now it's time for our next segment, our live portfolio reviews. So Reka will walk us through a few real UX portfolios submitted by some of you in the audience and offer honest, constructive feedback on the structure, content, and clarity. If your portfolio wasn't selected this time, I saw people asking in the Q&A section as well. Don't worry, there will be future opportunities. We will have other webinars and other places where we can uh, evaluate some of those. So, Rika, without further ado, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akash. So, today's session is all about the homepage and the about page. So, I'm going to focus on those areas when reviewing these portfolios. And let's jump into the first portfolio. So, the first portfolio belongs to Joshua. And I'll approach this the way a recruiter would, starting with first impressions. And the first impression is a bit overwhelming. There's an animated mesh gradient in the background and a little, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a blob that follows the cursor. So it's a lot to process right away. And this memoji also feels a little out of place and draws my attention away from the content rather than supporting it, the thing that I mentioned earlier. And consider removing some of these distractive elements to help visitors focus on your message. On the plus side, the navigation is really clear and I can see what your portfolio consists of. And I also like the Get My CV button. Now let's focus on the headline. So it says, hey there, Joshua here. I do UX, UI, and product design. Design thinking, product success. Welcome to my world where innovation meets intuition. I transform ideas into seamless, user-centric products, elevating every project with passion and creativity. Well, it feels a bit too generic, and you also used a lot of buzzwords like innovation, intuition, seamless, which makes it hard to get a clear sense of who you are as a designer. It seems like you're trying to cover all bases, UX, UI, product design, but that can actually work against you. So you'll make a much stronger impression if you narrow your focus a bit and tailor the headline to the kind of roles you're most interested in. And try to clearly communicate what kind of designer you are and what kind of work you do best. Then, as I scroll down, I see an animated logo wall, but there's no context around it. So it's unclear whether these are companies you've worked with, or past clients, or maybe tools you use. But without that explanation, it's hard for visitors to understand what it represents, so it doesn't add much value. I'd suggest removing it or adding a short label and placing it near the bottom of the page where it doesn't distract visitors from your main content. Next, there's a section called Moral Compass where you highlight your values. And this is a nice addition, but recruiters usually want to see your work right away. So I'd suggest moving this section below the work section. And pay attention because you have a broken animation here. And now we'll get to the work section. So the number of the case studies is actually optimal. You have 4 case studies, but the design of the cards could be improved. They all have different layouts, different fonts, and different background styles, and all of this visual clutter makes it really difficult to see what each case study is about. A quick fix would be removing the text from these images and adding them below the cards. And also make sure to rewrite the titles so they reflect what you did in these projects, not what the products themselves can do. Remember, here you should pitch your work and not the product. And one more thing, clicking on a project opens a Behance page, which interrupts the experience. So if possible, bring the case studies into your portfolio website so the review flow stays seamless and more professional. Now let's check your About page. I'll use the main navigation for that. And here the navigation changes. So when I'm on the home page, I have the About, Work, and Connect in the navigation, but when I go to the About page, the About link changes to the home page, and this is a bit confusing. Mm, I understand what you try to do here, but it's best to keep the navigation consistent across all pages and highlight the page that the visitor is currently on. And that said, let's see the rest of the page. So I really like these consistent headings. And I also like this hobbies section. And then the gallery of personal photographs. This is actually a really great way to add personality and share a glimpse of your life outside of work. This helps recruiters and hiring managers connect with you and makes you relatable. And actually, hiring managers usually check this page to see whether you're a good cultural fit for the team. So, adding these personal things about you can help with that. And that's all. It's great that you have these social links in the footer so we can quickly access your LinkedIn, Behance, and also send you a message. So, Joshua, your portfolio shows a lot of effort, and it's clear that you're really passionate about design. And with a few adjustments to improve clarity and consistency, this can become a really strong and memorable portfolio. So, keep going, you're on the right track. And the next up is Taha's portfolio. And just like with Joshua's portfolio, I'll start with the first impression. So there's quite a lot going on with the typography in the first fold. And this wave emoji also feels out of place because it's oversized and doesn't match the otherwise clean and modern design that you're going for based on the colors and typography. And also, the typography is a bit all over the place. I'm seeing about 7 different text styles at once. So this is one text style, this is the second one, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost 7. So this creates visual clutter, and you can easily fix this by merging the three texts in your hero section into one clear statement. So these, and adding some breathing room before the selected work section. And also, if you move the case study titles, these, below the thumbnails, then you will reduce the amount of text above the fold and will have a much cleaner first impression. Other than that, your navigation is simple and intuitive, and I really like that you're using your name instead of a logo. This makes your portfolio easier to recognize on any page. Now, let's move on to the case studies. This is actually the strongest part of your portfolio. The thumbnails look polished, you used the same background style, the same logo placement, and the same mockup style in all of them. Just one thing, use a dark background for your thumbnails so they match your portfolio's dark theme better. And the case study titles are also well written. They focus on what you designed, and the subtitles clearly highlight the outcome. So nicely done. And you also use the same structure in all of your titles. So it's really easy to just scan through and get a sense of what type of work you do. And now let's move on to the About page. But as I can see, there's no About page. I recommend adding at least a short section where you introduce yourself and share a bit about your background and approach. And overall, this portfolio has a solid foundation with a few small visual adjustments, mostly regarding typography. And adding an About page, it could really stand out. So, great work, Taha. And let's see the third portfolio, which is Joanna's. And right away, the design feels really clean and focused. the headline and the CTA are clearly in the center of attention. And I love that the first thumbnail peeks into the first fold, so it naturally makes me want to scroll further. And to simplify the layout even more, I'd suggest removing this little animated arrow or this work label. And maybe even both, because the case study thumbnail already signals what's next and already makes me want to scroll further. So these are just unnecessary distractions. And now let's focus on your headline. The font pairing works really nicely. The serif headings add sophistication while the sans serif body text is clean and easy to read. And highlighting the driven by purpose with your portfolio's accent color is a nice touch, but making it bigger isn't necessary. Also, be consistent with fonts. I noticed that you have a different font here in this button. This is Inter and the rest are Lato. And the copy itself is pretty strong, especially the second part, where you clearly communicate the industry you work in, the type of products you work on, and your design approach. And I would actually make this your main headline. The one confusing element is the I'm available for work button. I wasn't sure at first if this was a button or not, so change the copy to something more actionable, like get in touch or send a message. So it's clear what will happen when someone clicks on it. Now let's move on to the case studies. So the thumbnails work really well together. I really like that you use the subtle gradient in the background and realistic device mockups. And I also like the nice hover effect. It adds a bit of interest without distracting me. So these are the type of micro interactions that you should add to your portfolio to make it stand out and to make it more unique. Not necessarily those custom cursors that actually just distract me from reading the content. And the title of the first case study is a bit unclear. After opening it, I realized that it's more of a summary of your ongoing work at an insurance company. Let's just go into it. And I can also see that this project is confidential, and that's why you don't share any other details. And this is actually a great approach to NDA protected projects, but because you still share responsibilities and your process without revealing any confidential information, like I said earlier. So this is a great approach, but make this clear from the start and add the title like my UX process at this company. Because this title, here's what I do, is a bit vague. The other two case studies also have some unconventional titles. The titles are how might we questions, basically, which is a pretty creative approach to present a problem that you're solving with a product. And if you stick with that, consider adding a more descriptive subtitle so that it's clear what the project is about at first glance. And I also noticed that you're using these chips to show project details, which is a great idea. Just make sure that they are consistent across all projects. So define a few categories like role, industry, shipped or not shipped that you have here, and stick to those because it looks like you use very different ones for each case study, and this way they don't help with skimming and understanding what each project is about. And now let's check your about page. It starts with a strong value proposition, and you could even use this as your main headline. And you also sprinkled in a little personal note here, which is nice. And then if we scroll further, we can see your areas of expertise, and you saw how that animation was a little late, so maybe tweak that too. But this part is nice because I can clearly see what type of work you do. And then we can see your career journey divided into three phases, which is really interesting. So you have a phase one from literature to design, then graphic design, and finally user experience. This is a great way to tell the story of your UX journey. And I also appreciate that you added your contact information to multiple places. So you have that in your footer, and you also have a link to your resume and a link to your LinkedIn, which are both very, very useful for a recruiter. And you also added your email here. So it's super easy to find this contact information. So, Joanna, this is a beautifully designed and well thought out portfolio, and these small tweaks I mentioned will make it even stronger. And this wraps up the portfolio reviews for today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Reka. We still have a couple minutes, so we're gonna do a quick round of Q&A. A lot of people enjoyed this last part and they were still asking whether they can submit their portfolios. So what I'll say to that is we'll have future sessions. I'll post the link in the chat here. It's always worth suggesting your portfolio because we will be doing more in the future. Um, Okay, so a couple of questions, just real quick. I saw multiple questions about this. If we are using this kind of tool, UXfolio, and we all have the same looking portfolio, isn't that a bit counterproductive in regards to standing out?
Mhm. But why would you have the same type of portfolio? Because you can customize portfolios really easily in UXfolio. As you saw during my live demo, you can even generate color palettes based on your personal brand color. So the magic of UXfolio is that it makes it really easy to customize your portfolio. So it actually helps you stand out.
All right. Next one, about case study headlines. What should people do if they don't have concrete information? Like they cannot put like drove sales up by 35% or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Not everybody has metrics, so you should focus on the outcome. So it doesn't always have to be a measurable impact. You can always share qualitative results as well, like simplified the onboarding flow by 3 steps or things like that. So just highlight what you did and be very specific about it. And if there's a clear outcome, maybe you simplified a certain flow, then add that. And if you have metrics, then definitely add those.
Awesome. What do hiring managers expect when it comes to light/dark mode toggles? Do you think it's an important feature?
I don't think that is necessary. It's just another thing that maybe you want to show that you can do, and maybe you want to show that you can design both in light mode and in dark mode. But in for portfolios, I don't think that is necessary. Instead, choose a style that reflects your personality and stick to that. So if you prefer dark mode and if you really like to design in dark mode, then choose dark mode for your portfolio.
Or should people add their work experiences in their about page?
Mhm. You can add if you want to, but those are in your CV already. So it's a bit repetitive to also highlight them on your about page. But if your work experience is very important for your story, for example, you're a career switcher and you want to focus on your transition on your about page, then maybe adding a section that clearly shows when you switched from your previous role to UX and what are your exact experiences, then maybe you can do that. So if it adds value and makes your story stronger, then do it. Otherwise, you don't have to add it to your about page because people can access your professional details in your CV, so it's not necessary.
All right, we have another minute. So, thoughts on having a single page portfolio, specifically having the about on the home page.
Mhm. You can definitely add an about section to your homepage if you prefer that. So it's at the end of the day, it's a personal preference. But an about page is more practical because if you add your about section on your homepage, then it can make your homepage really long. This also depends on how many case studies you have on your homepage. But if you have more than three, and you also want to add your about section there, then it will make it super long and people don't like to scroll that much. So it's more practical to add it to a dedicated page. And also, what I mentioned about navigation, it's much easier for recruiters to quickly access that about page if it's part of your navigation. Because if you place your about section uh, below the work section, then you might risk recruiters not finding it.
Awesome. Thank you. We still have a lot of questions, but we don't have any more time, unfortunately, for them. I pasted our social links in the chat. Do follow us there because we will be answering more questions on social. Especially, I saw a lot of UX Folio related ones, so we'll be taking a look at those as well. All right. So, thank you all so much for joining today's masterclass. We hope this gave you fresh insights, ideas, and confidence to upgrade your UX portfolio or start building one if you don't have one. The recording will be sent out soon. It will be on YouTube, and we will be back with part two of the series in the near future. By the way, people asked if maybe we can do a part two on case study specifically. So, yeah, look forward to that. Special thanks again to Reika for sharing her expertise and to ADP List for partnering with us. And if you haven't already, like I said, check us out on UXfolio at uxfolio.io and do check out ADP List at adplist.org. And follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn for more events and portfolio tips. See you around.